Kiswahili, but he ended up speaking in English throughout. Thank you. Your Excellency, I just want to say that it is great because your vision, the talk around the diaspora issues, is no longer talk, because there is actually a state department under your government for diaspora. So it is not just a question of talking, but you're actually walking the talk. You've established state department, ably led by Madam Njogu here. The diaspora, we want to consolidate and improve on our diaspora policy. When the department sends out its requests for ideas, please respond as early as possible. And we also need to acknowledge that in Japan, we've had strong relationship, and some of you, not all, but a good number of you may have come here on JICA scholarships. And we are therefore very appreciative to the government of Japan on that score. And our mission here, led by His Excellency the President, is really to consolidate that partnership. So while we are operating from Nairobi and you are in Japan, don't just look at yourselves as the diaspora. Take it that you're patriotic Kenyans and you're ambassadors of Kenya and ambassadors of the President of Kenya. So, Your Excellency, having said that, let me now take this opportunity to invite you so that you can address this very large and distinguished gathering in Tokyo. Can you all be upstanding so that His Excellency can step forward and address us? Piga moja ile ya Kenya. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, PCS. Let's take our leaders present here from Kenya and Japan. Wakenya wenzangu hamjambo. Good evening. Very good. Sana. This opportunity to, in a very special way, congratulate each and every one of you for making it for this Kakunji. I know many of you have traveled from different parts of and I know how much it is a sacrifice all the way so that we can have this meeting, get together of citizens of our great country Kenya, and to exchange ideas and to listen and to see how we can forge a better country for ourselves. We all understand that for us to move Kenya in the direction that we all aspire, it takes collective effort. It takes everybody's contribution. It takes everybody's understanding and coming together and the that is required to move our country forward. I want to congratulate all of you for being wonderful ambassadors of Kenya in this country. I can say without a doubt that we do not have any adverse reports. I have met with many officials. Sometimes I go to some other places and I get complaints. I must say that we haven't filed any complaints from Japan. So you guys, I must say, I am very proud that you have flown our flag very high and you have given us respect that Kenyans deserve in this country, and I am looking forward to a great trip that is very important for our country and a win-win outcome for us and Japan. I will not want, because my very peers has spoken on behalf of all of us. And she's the holder of the docket, and I have engaged with her in what we need to do, and I'm happy that there is a lot of difference that I see in what that looked like a year ago to what it looks like today. I think sometimes it used to even be very difficult to, because there wasn't somebody whose business it was to work with the Kenyan diaspora. Run up to the last election and every other election before, there was always a push by the diaspora for recognition, for better engagement with their government, and that is why I made this decision that for the first time we will have a State Department with a dedicated Principal Secretary to mind, to run, to engage with our diaspora, and that is her only business. And I'm seeing tremendous results, and all of you who asked the government of Kenya to think about the diaspora, you were right. It was time that as government we had a much more in-depth, expanded, deepened engagement with our diaspora. Plan is engagement, and I'm very confident that we will scale it up. Better engage with our diaspora and better leverage on our diaspora for the good of our country. I have been briefed about the engagement that has been achieved through the mobile consular services. We are looking at how we can regularize so that it's not a one-off and it's not something that is done once in a while. It must be a regular. People must expect that these services will be made available. And Rosalyn and her team at the State Department are working on how to make sure that you know when they can deliver your passport, when they can deliver the other issues that require from the government of Kenya, including identification cards and many of the other items. I also want to tell you that added on to that mobile consular services, we've now moved, as I said to the people of Kenya, we've moved many government services onto the digital platform to make it easier for Kenyans from across Kenya to engage with government from the comfort of where they are. We had 50 government services a year and a half ago. We have escalated that because I made a commitment that we would make sure that 80% of government services are online. In fact, 80%, according to us that time, was 7,000 government services. We then discovered that there were actually more government services than we thought. As I'm talking to you now, we have 14,000 government services online. And counting. Our estimation now, looking at what we have done, we thought of 7,000, now we are at 14,000. In fact, we have is between 17,000 and 18,000 government services We are continuing that journey until we make the government of Kenya fully digital. There will be a lot that will go into that. We will look at cybersecurity, we will look at many other components, and we expect to tap into expertise like what the Prime Cabinet Secretary was saying here, of Kenyans living abroad who are experts and professionals, for them to work with us to see how we can secure our data. Geoffrey, you're listening? Yeah, how we can secure our data and how we can work together to make sure that services provided by the government of Kenya are seamless and uninterrupted. Other than that space, and you know, of course, as we digitize government services, as like pay bills, you know. Now we have reduced the 3,000 pay bills to 1, so that we can have sight of government revenue. The 3,000 pay bills across Kenya, some of them are in people's names, and they used to collect government revenue. And you know what happens when somebody collects government revenue? You may get a portion of it, you may get nothing. So we are being resistant, but everybody now realized that will mean what we say, and therefore we are closing in to making sure that all government services are fine. You may have heard the latest about school fees in Kenya, or money that is by parents. And some of the monies paid by parents, for example, in boarding schools, because we provide resources for learning in all our primary schools and secondary schools, what parents pay. We are insisting because we realize that there are illegal levies charged by boards of management of schools that go into and therefore we have insisted payment of from any payments in cash is payment that I remember when we came into office in 2014, it was not possible to pay for any government service. And it was a tragedy that you couldn't pay for a government service with a credit card or with any other mechanism other than you putting together some money and going to pay. Now we have gone the complete opposite. Shortly, it will not be possible to pay for any government service in cash. We will demand that for purposes of accountability, for purposes of transparency, for purposes of tracing and record, it will be the norm to pay not in cash. So again, we deal firmly with matters to do with accountability and making sure that we can account for every cent that we collect as government. Let me also say that as we do that, we are looking at how the diaspora as well can benefit from what we're doing. You know, it's now possible for you in diaspora to pay for, if you want to pay for electricity bill for your mother somewhere in the village, you can pay from where you are, and they can continue enjoying whatever that they are looking for. So that speaks to the whole of government, whole of its approach to services. It is my commitment also to expand the Kenyan diaspora, because the Kenyan diaspora, the Kenyan human capital is a big resource, is a big asset. Just for your knowledge, we spend 650 billion Kenya shillings. That's about $5 billion every year to educate our children from primary school all the way to our universities. That is big spending. In fact, it is close to 30% of the budget of the government of Kenya. It is the single largest budget of the government of Kenya. It is therefore important that apart from spending that much money, which is spending doing the right thing, we must figure out how this huge resource that we are sharpening through education, training, and knowledge can be an asset for the economic growth of our country, for the development of Kenya. And it is the reason why we now have a very deliberate plan on how to monetize our human capital. And one of the ways is to build a greater diaspora. Part of the instructions I have given to Roslyn and the Ministry of Labor is for them to framework, and it is one of the things that I monitor on a daily basis. My strategy office, execution office led by Aden, it's one of the items on my radar as to building for Kenyans to have jobs locally, but also for continue spending 500 billion shillings every year to import food, because that's the case. And 500 billion Kenya shillings is a lot of money if you count it in whatever currency. And so intentionally we have to increase our productivity, our production, and reduce our post-harvest losses, and enhance our irrigation infrastructure. It is the reason why partly I am in Tokyo today, because we are running a program with the Japanese government on matters to do with rice, because among food items that we import, and it costs us all the rice that we need in Kenya. We don't have to spend the 60 billion to import it. And in any case, if we have to spend the 60 billion, we should be paying our own farmers. So we have a program with the Japanese government in Mwea. We concluded with their support. The dam is now enhancing our production of rice in Mwea by an extra 10,000 acres. There is a small component that is left of about 2 billion shillings. It's the reason why I came to straighten it up, so that we can conclude phase 2 of that project, some canals, and I have already received indication that something that I will have a conversation with the Prime Minister tomorrow evening. We are also working with Japan on a master plan, huge opportunity in Ahero, in Pekera, in Baringo, in Tana River, in Hola, in Bura, and in many other areas in Kenya. So that's the conversation we are going to have. They are supporting us to work out a master plan so that we can invest appropriately in that space. Secondly, we will be also having a conversation around mechanization. In fact, I will be meeting JBIC and one of the providers of equipment on how we can mechanize our agriculture, because we still have almost 45% of our agriculture is not mechanized, and that's why our productivity is low. We will also be concluding the Japanese government, for Japanese companies to work with us on a public-private partnership framework on the construction of water storage, water harvesting, the dams space, because as you all are aware, our great country is 85% arid and semi-arid, and therefore water harvesting and water storage is a big part of what is going to be our success in agriculture and especially in food production. We have changed the law last year to provide for the deployment of private capital in construction of water. The same way we have a power purchase agreement that has helped us grow our energy sector. We now have a water purchase agreement infrastructure, our water harvesting and water storage capabilities, and that is one of the conversations that I will be having with the government here. I will also be having a conversation around universal health coverage. This great country have given us support to KEMRI. In fact, we will be signing the necessary letters tomorrow. They are providing us a facility of 3 billion shillings to extend in KEMRI, our health sector. We discussed them also our plan on universal health coverage, because as you're all aware, we have provided a new framework because I had a commitment that we are going to have a new framework of delivery of health that will do 4 major things. Number 1 is to have community health promoters at every village level. That we already have 100,000. We've worked with the counties. We now have 100,000 community health promoters across Kenya. We have kitted all of them with equipment given by the government of Kenya. We are, because we do not leave anybody behind, and we want to deal with the challenge of chronic illnesses, especially cancer, diabetes, hypertension, and many of those that impoverish many families because of the huge expense. We will now have a chronic illness fund that will support families in paying those bills. Number 3 is to get the infrastructure around health insurance. And we are looking at 2 aspects. We have indigents, people who cannot afford for us to carry them along. And therefore, in the new law that I signed, we now have the indigents, the people who cannot afford, they will be paid for by the government of Kenya. And the people who are in the lower category will have their charges also reviewed downwards so that we can carry everybody along. Finally, we will be having a conversation here about energy and about manufacturing. Energy, because as you're all aware, the world is moving towards renewable energy, so that we power our progress and development using climate sensitive energy. So we are concluding the discussion about a solar power plant in Meru, in Isiolo, a wind power plant in Meru, and a geothermal power plant in Menengai. So all that is part of the conversation we're going to have. And I'm very happy with the progress that we have made so far today. In fact, we signed the framework agreement today between our 3 ministries and Toyota, and we will be concluding the rest of the agreements tomorrow to make sure that we tap into that source of energy. That's of manufacturing. And one of the items that we are working on is infrastructure around Dongo Kundu, Special Economic Zone. It is something that has been in the works for many years, but I intend investment tomorrow, Muniombe. because there was already an arrangement of about 37 billion shillings to do the horizontal infrastructure, provide infrastructure in Dongokundu that has a huge potential of up to 50,000 jobs once it's done. We are also concluding the discussions on how we can import less used cars and manufacture new cars in Kenya. As you are aware, we import into Kenya 120,000 used cars, and we only manufacture about 13,000 new cars. And it takes a toll on our economy because the used cars are very high maintenance, very high emission, and a drain on our less efficient in the use of fuel. So it's and so the conversation I was having today with Toyota is that because they have 80% of the market and they are generating for us renewable energy, it only makes sense that we have a conversation on, at the very least, hybrid cars, and then quickly and progressively into electric motor vehicles. We have a good agreement, and they have agreed to invest as a first step in Kenya vehicle manufacturers begin their assembly going into manufacture. And I have told them with clarity that even as they do assembly, we expect that 40% of the components that go into the assembly must be manufactured in Kenya. So that will begin to take us towards the direction of electric motor vehicles. We will create more jobs for the people working in the assembly and manufacture plants, and we will save on our environment. So that is the conversation that hopefully I look forward to concluding it tomorrow, the Minister. So otherwise, good people, I could tell you more, but I know it's late and we have children in our so maybe I should stop there and maybe ask if there who any questions.